Yeah, the Welsh, or I certainly saw that the um, Plaid Cymru wanted, was it 4 billion or something,
Yeah.
in essentially reparations for the amount of money that they weren't going to get from HS2. Yeah,
It's a England and Wales project, right? For
yes.
no fucking reason, despite the fact that it's not going. It's not going to Wales.
Mm.
And so, in terms of the overall transport budget, so much gets blown on an English project with no benefit.
Yeah,
Which, of course, yeah, I can understand why they're really angry about it. They should be angry about it.
yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, look, Birmingham doesn't get that much investment anyway, so I'm not that bothered.
Hello, is that better? I don't know. Every time that I go live, if I go into a voice chat, for more than that, speak to specs. Every time I go into the voice chat, you can't hear me because I don't know what the fuck's wrong with my mic. Where's the fuck's the iPlayer? Give me the iPlayer. Haha, iPlayer. This topic today makes no fucking sense. It's a reserved matter, but fuck it, why not? And oh joy, Thomas Kerr is on. He's a wank. He started off in Labour, then he defected to the scum, and now he's defected again to the, well, how long has he been in Reform? He said he is but the lowly, lonely Reform councillor here in Glasgow. The man is a dickhead. I seriously hope he loses his seat next year. I really do. And you'll find out why in this Sunday show. I can type honestly. uh, mm. Let's give people time to come in. Oh, let me bring up my shot here. No props, Jim. No props. Okay, this one is infuriating, chat. Forewarned. And not just because Thomas Kerr's on. Mm. I will say again, that man is a dickhead. It's only available for 30 days. Mm. Oh, may as well bring up. No. There. Switch. Dashboard. Yeah, I know I'm live. Behave yourself. Sweet. 23 unique views. Nice one. There we go. Oh, Red's playing Baldur's Gate. Have fun, Red. Close. Oh. Ads running. My god, 292 people are watching Helena. Sweet. Sweet. Mute. There we go. Fantastic. Sit on an angle here. Next week's Sunday show should be good. Education. Devolved. Unlike today's. Immigration. But fuck it, I will cover it. Just so I can swear at Thomas Kerr. Because, obviously, you have to. He's a dickhead. Oh, there you go. Oh, Andy. I missed you there, Andy, sorry. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm good. Ah, thank you. My dragon. Oh god, I love that stream title. Nice one, Helena. Oh, sweet. Oh, Cappy. Found my raid target. Sweet. Oh! Hello, hello. Oh my god. Yay! Look at all the people on YouTube. Shallow, hello. Hi, Shallow. Doc Davies, hello. Rejoice, comrades. Hello. How is everyone? Wasn't it good? Funny, Laura speaking to the only Lib Dem in the Senate. Poor Jane. But at the end of the day, she's still a Lib Dem. Fuzzmuzz! Rejoice, Fuzzmuzz is here. Based Scot. I salute you. You were really good tonight, by the way. I'm doing well, Miss Hire. I'm doing well. A little bit of a scare last night. But yes. No. It's a beautiful day in the neighbourhood indeed, Rachel. Right. This one, there is no fucking point in it being an issue. Like, it's third on the list of priorities, like the cost of living and the NHS are the two ahead of it. But third on people's minds in this election campaign, immigration, which is pointless because it's a reserved matter. Maybe we should have control of it, but can't. Security. Okay, you fucking do it then. We're just going to bloody pester you about it. We are an ageing population. We need the fucking tax base. Have an early start, I know. Thank you for dropping by though, Miss Hire. Always a pleasure, my dear. Yeah, if you've got an early start, yeah. Away to your scratcher. Stay hydrated, not necessarily with Magners. Self-care is good care. Take your meds if you need to take any. Stay based. Free Palestine and tell a reform wank to piss off. Mind you, in saying that, your election down there in Birmingham's going to be deliciously good. Because most of the Unionist party, well, they wouldn't really be called I call them Unionists, obviously. But your main people, your main parties down there are going to get a kicking. Deservedly so. They need it. Right, shall we get this interminable fucking topic over and done with? Then we can maybe move on to something a bit more fun.
It's your shopping.
It's your bill.
It's your whole.
Hello and welcome to The Sunday Show and the latest of our specially extended programmes on TV in the run-up to the Holyrood election on May the 7th.
Magners is delicious.
This week we're taking a deep dive into immigration and integration, an issue that's shot up the chart of voter concerns in Scotland. We're trying to find out why and what our wannabe politicians plan to do about it. At Edinburgh University's Professor
Nothing up
Ailsa
here because
Henderson
it's a
is back
reserved
with
matter,
the
Gary.
latest on voter trends and polling. Could apathy and low turnout become the story of this election? It's great to have you with us. I'm
Certainly
Gary
looking
Robertson.
like it.
Let's get to it.
Kinda sucks. I would turn out above 70%. I'm no holding my breath though.
And please feel free to join in the conversation. You can use the hashtag BBC Sunday Show. Now, despite powers over immigration being reserved to Westminster, recent polling for the BBC suggests that it's one of the top
Reform and
three
independence,
priority
that
issues
is
for
looking like
voters
that, yeah.
here ahead of the Holyrood elections. Last year, when the Home Office announced plans to place 300 male asylum seekers at Cameron Barracks near Inverness city centre, it led to protests and heated and at times polarised debate.
Scary military
At
age
the same time,
males.
chronic workforce shortages in the Highlands have left many businesses struggling to
Aw.
operate. So this week,
Thank
I
you
went
for
to
the luck,
Inverness
my
to hear
dear.
from those living and
Oh,
working.
did you do a hydrate? You did do a hydrate.
We came to this country like 5 years ago, and here is a lot of opportunity, especially for my wife, you know, and now she can work easy.
Since the war broke out in Afghanistan, almost 2,000 people have resettled in Scotland. Before he left, Azizi did a degree in computing. His family now run a street food truck on the Highland Food and Drink Trail. He's asked us not to show his face.
How is business? How's it been going?
Yeah, it's going well. People love it.
It's
So
turned
we are
into a
learning
slideshow.
everything, and we are trying to do a good thing to the community.
Yeah,
Do you feel
40th
that
anniversary of
here in the
Chernobyl.
Highlands?
Yes, some in Highlands people are so nice. You know, they're helpful. We didn't experience like so much bad things, but sometimes it happens with my wife regarding his religious beliefs. You know,
There's an election, there's a debate about immigration.
Oh
people
no,
coming
why
to the
am I
country,
getting frame
other
drops?
politicians talking
It's
about
literally
too
just
many
this
people
you
coming,
bastard.
etc. Does any of that worry you?
yes. Sometimes it feels bad. You know, we all just humans. There's no difference. You know.
The fuck?
Back in November, news of a possible scheme to house 300 asylum seekers near the city centre sparked protests in Inverness. While that debate has died down for now, people we spoke to about immigration said they had concerns about social housing allocation, overstretched local services, and the burden on NHS waiting lists. It's a heated topic, and most people were unwilling to speak on camera for fear of a backlash. But some local residents were happy to talk.
The government can actually look and allocate social
it's
housing
burning up.
primarily for our young community, and then anything after that, again, that can then be allocated for immigrants.
It's always easy to blame somebody else, especially if they look a little different. So it avoids the issues of whether we should be having fair taxation. It avoids the issues of creating work.
So many homeless people here in Scotland and all over. Why are we allowing immigrants to come in and take up housing? They should be dealing with their own problems. Their government should.
It's not the immigrants' fault that there's homelessness. It's 40 years of not building enough council housing. And we know who we blame for that, don't we, chat? I've been in Inverness. I was on there for a weekend getaway, a break, with the super hubby. Inverness is lovely, by the way. I understand, I get it. There's not enough council housing. Not the immigrants' fault. And if they're asylum seekers, no recourse to public money. Oh, get to fuck. These frame drops are going to annoy me. Oh, thank you, Mr. E. Don't worry. I'm feeling a lot better now. Thank you for your concern. Much appreciated. That was him calling it. Oh, fuck it. I may as well explain it is. I was doing my Saturday usual live stream with Andy about Oscar Wilde and the then Prime Minister, who was gay, and the whole situation. But I kept on dropping out just like that. My oxygen was in the crapper, essentially. So I had to end the stream and go through to my bed. And when I went through, I must have woken him up. He panicked. He heard the way I was breathing. He was expecting me to come through at like 3 or something, like I usually do after my stream. And the fact that I came through at about midnight, he said, "What?" And he checked my breathing and called an ambulance straight away. Oh. So they checked my oxygen level, and it was bad. I'm not going to tell you what it is. None of you need to know that. But yeah, it was bad. They put me on a nebulizer for a couple of hours. Got me stabilised. Said, if this keeps on happening, you need to come in. No point calling us, just come straight up. So I've promised him, if my oxygen level dips again to what it was last night, he's literally going to drag me down and get an emergency appointment with my GP. Don't worry. Pepsi scrolls, hello. Inverness is nice. They're often, whereas there was just a bit more to do. Could go out to Culloden, I guess. I quite liked it. We don't do much. We just use it to get away from this flat, essentially. Now there's plenty of shit to do in Fort William if you're outdoorsy. I ain't going to climb that big fucking mountain. It would probably end me. He's climbed it because he's a lunatic. This was just before he met me, by the way, fucking back in the 90s. When he was a young man.
People put a lot of emphasis on the cost of taking in immigrants and things like that, but realistically, you know, if we needed to find money, there's plenty of places we could find money from.
Lara came to Scotland 13 years ago from Syria on a student visa. She now runs a food business in the city centre.
When we decided to start our business here, the support we get from the council, from the managers, was amazing. So I didn't feel that I'm a stranger here.
Some people believe that we have too many people coming to this country.
Yeah.
What would your message to them be?
We witnessed a difficulty in employing people. You can see in my shop, I've been putting this, we are hiring for more than 3 months. And there is a lack, a very big difficulty to find an employee. I believe if you give the foreigners the opportunity, they will be great to help the country.
Those staffing shortages are echoed across the region, according to business leaders. Many see immigration as a possible solution.
So the biggest issue for all our businesses is workforce shortage.
Now, if anyone knows how we name shit up here, I'll be no surprised. What is that river? What is that river called? Does anyone have a guess? Look at the lovely daffodils. Answers in chat. Backside going numb. Name that river.
And is there a sense that this has got worse in recent years? Was Brexit a factor, for instance?
So I think Brexit and COVID combined, the two things combined have been a huge problem. We reckon about 50% of the hospitality workforce has left the Highlands since 2021. So yeah, pretty disastrous combination.
And what would your solution to all of this be?
I mean, it's a multifaceted answer, but we need more people coming in. We need better legal routes to migration and housing.
You're not allowed.
We've got a real housing shortage.
You live up
even
here.
when people do want to come here, they can't find somewhere to live.
Yes, it's the
Joe De
Randomness.
Silva runs several businesses, including a pub and music venue in Inverness city centre.
What is your workforce like? What difficulties do you have around work?
That's a cracking pub, by the way.
Our business model here, because we could not get a kitchen staff.
A lot of politicians talk about there are enough homegrown workers, there are enough people who can do these jobs. What is the difficulty, do you think? What is at the root of that?
Up here, there just aren't. There just aren't enough people to do these jobs. Immigration has to be controlled at some level. Headlines are, we have so many boats coming in and there's so many people who have arrived on the shores. But we need to have a really, really good look at what is required for business. I think they really need to have a good look at the type of staff that are needed and the areas that those staff are needed. And that's when we'll be able to see our business thrive and grow much more easily than it is at the moment.
Some views there from the Highlands. Well, I'm joined now from Edinburgh by Dr. Sarah Kayambi, who's Director of Migration Policy Scotland. It's a think tank that assesses public attitudes towards migration and advises on migration policy. Welcome to the Sunday Show, Sarah.
Thank you very much.
It does seem that immigration numbers peaked around
shouldn't need to
2023. They've come down since
that.
then. How significant are the numbers and what's behind all of that?
Well, the peak was a historic high back in 2020.
I'll quickly explain that. So Inverness is literally on the Ness, which is the river. Plus you've got Loch Ness as well. Let's see, yeah, Dunedin, which is the original name for Edinburgh, means Hill Fort of Eden, which is Edinburgh. Dumbarton, colloquially known as the Rock, the Barton Rock, means that the fort on the hill, essentially. We're not really original, and we have a penchant for using geographic features. Blame the Picts for that one. Sorry, that's my people. They had most of the northeast, all of the northeast. There was loads of Picts, essentially, and great swaths of Scotland. So, like, what we know is Strathclyde and Dalriada. They're the ones on the west coast, but the rest of it was Pictland.
And we have seen that come down considerably to around about kind of pre-pandemic levels of 200,000. And what we do know is that high immigration numbers tends to raise this political salience of immigration as an issue. So it's possible that's what we have seen in recent years, where we've seen more kind of political focus on those issues. But we have also seen at the same time issues like small boats and asylum accommodation, which are both actually quite small parts of the overall immigration system, attract a lot of attention, get a lot of focus, generate some very divisive views, and in a way distorting a debate that's also about vacancies, that's also about labour needs, and is actually much more complex in a way that's reflected often in our attitudes data.
Yeah, and some of that might explain why this is number 3 on the priority list for people at this election when they were asked ahead of the election by the BBC. When it comes to actions that politicians can take, what works and what doesn't work in terms of dealing with this?
In terms of actions politicians can take, I think inflammatory rhetoric around these issues has been unhelpful. The numbers are coming down, and I think we are seeing with that, while we're still seeing a rising trend in cooling attitudes, it'll be interesting to see what goes next. I think recognising and explaining to people how there are opportunities for migration, including what we get through student migration, what we get through labour migration, and how those can be reaped, is something that we know from the discourse in Scotland, is something that people do get to see. We know in Scotland people are appreciative of the benefits that migration brings in terms of perceived impact. Those that people agree strongly with is how migration contributes to filling jobs, how it enriches social and cultural life, and how it helps to offset population challenges.
And when we look at this growing concern amongst the public and attitudes towards this, I mean, you've mentioned there that this is a nuanced debate. It's multifaceted in terms of workers and also, in terms of local provision. Do you think that nuance is getting through when it comes to this debate?
When it comes to the attitudes data, what's always interesting is if you ask by route, so while we are seeing a cooling debate in general, cooling views across the Scottish public in general, where there's a growing agreement that preferred levels should be lower. When you break that down by visa routes, the 5 of the key routes, so for instance for skilled worker visas, for seasonal and temporary work, but also for humanitarian visas, we've got over 70% who agree or that the levels of immigration coming in under those routes should either increase or stay the same. So there's actually, I think it's important not to overstate.
Fingers crossed that kicks in soon.
Recognise that what people feel about immigration is actually often very mixed, and people can see both things at once. And I think sometimes in the reporting and the politics, that gets simplified into kind of presenting those views as though people are either straightforwardly for or against immigration, whereas actually I think a lot of the Scottish public have got far more mixed views than that.
Well, in terms of the public's views, do they align with what the UK government, for instance, is trying to do on immigration?
I think that's a really difficult question. I think when we looked at policy options and policy preferences in last year's data, there are, in terms of overall wanting to reduce immigration, yes, the proposals to do that have been very effective, and that does align with the trend in views. But at the same time, reductions in the time that students can spend on post-study work visa, that doesn't align with what we saw people's preferences were in our questions on that. Similarly, actually, views on access to social benefits and social housing are actually much more generous than I think the debate often allows, is often reported in the general debate.
Well, Sarah, thank you very much indeed for discussing all of that with us. And we're going to get into some of those issues now, because let's speak to our first panel of politicians. Joining me now are the SNP's Mary McCallan, Reform Scotland's Thomas Kerr, and Labour's Michael. Welcome all, thanks for being here. I mentioned...
Watch out for the wank in the middle. He is a wank. That is Thomas Kerr, councillor here in Glasgow for Shettleston, which is the East End. That direction. From UK hate these migrant hotels so much that they have the mental, isn't it? He was literally the one that had to do that when he was immigration minister. And for those of you who do not know who we're talking about, Bobby J, or Ozempic, if you wish. He is now their Treasury spokesperson. Christ. If they do get into government at the next general election, can you imagine that as Chancellor? Fucking hell. I will literally dig the ditch myself. I keep on saying this. I will go to B&Q and buy a shovel and dig the trench myself. Get out now while you can. Vanishingly few. I don't know why they're trending so much. It is irritating. They're second in the polls up here. It is going to be full-on wankery if they get that amount. Like Super Hubby was asking me earlier on, what if there are vote creators here and they don't get any? They hopefully won't get constituencies. There's a couple that they're running in all 73. I don't know why. There's great swaths of the country, mostly here in the south. Don't get me wrong, there's people here in Glasgow that will vote for them. But I don't know why. But in this seat, even though it's a new one, they're not even polling here that great. No, like 3% or something here in this constituency, this new one. So hopefully with any fucking luck they'll lose their deposit in most of the seats that they are running in. And I'll say again, they're running candidates in all 73 fucking constituencies. Ideally I want them to lose their deposits in all 73, but they will get votes. And a fair few of them. There are places they'll lose their deposit. Not that that matters. We have Crypto Farage and their money. Well, and his money. But yeah. I'll go back 10 seconds just to make sure we get all of them. Oh, fucking frame drops. I'm sorry for the frame drops, everyone. I don't know why it's happening. It's not like it's understandable having frame drops if I invite someone in through Discord or through Google Meet, but the fact that it's just the stream, I don't know why we're having frame drops. Oh, Christ's sake. Oh, it's buffering. iPlayer, you suck. Oh. Let's try again, shall we? iClear. Oh, there we go, 50 minutes left. Hello, Omaha! I remember the radioactive cloud going over where I lived in Scotland. The clouds didn't go at night. Disappointing to the young Dina. Don't teach me, I wanted superpowers. Oh, Omaha. There's areas in the Welsh Valleys in Wales that are still radioactive. It's going to take a while for that to dissipate. They're not grazed on now, don't worry. But there's sections in Wales where the cloud, the radiation actually affected parts of the valleys. Mad, isn't it?
Download the BBC Sport app and get every...
Go away.
Mentioned this changing attitude amongst the public when it comes to their priorities for this election, Mary McCallan. This was ranked as number 3. Why do you think we're seeing this change in attitude?
Well, I think that was an excellent package, which to me spoke to 2 very clear points, Gary. The first one is that people, on the whole, accept that migration is good for our economy, necessary for our economy, for our hospitality sector, health and social care, and our businesses. That was really reflected in the opinion there. But I think the other thing that was really reflected is that difficulties have...
10 minutes?
They have been exploited, and they have been exploited by the party sitting next to me here, which has, I think, created a atmosphere.
On you go, lass, yeah. Put the boot into
People are
him.
looking around them, Gary, there's no doubt about it, wondering why they're having to work harder and why it's more difficult to make ends meet. I would say that's because the UK economy is not working for them. It's not the fault of migrants, but Reform UK would have them believe it was.
Well, what do you say to that, Thomas?
Well, I think that's the height of absolute privilege. If you come to working class areas across the central belt, places like in Glasgow, for example, Gary, what we see is the system is at breaking point, and we're saying enough is enough. We're reflecting what the public are asking us to do, not trying to stir up anything ourselves. What we're speaking about is the fact.
Working class people
what
in
we're
Scotland
saying,
are some of the warmest and most welcoming people you can meet.
I agree. I spend every
Yeah.
single day with them, Mary. I don't sit in an ivory tower looking down on them, trust me. I spend every single day in working class communities, so that's the difference between me and you.
You don't know anything about my background.
What your government's done, though, is you as Housing Secretary and the SNP government removed an issue called the Local Connection Rule, which still exists in England, Wales and Northern Ireland, which is putting huge pressure on local communities, huge pressure on our housing sector, and we're seeing people prioritised over others here locally.
Wrong. I don't think you understand how
That's
local
factually
connection
correct.
works. No,
That's
it's not. Let me-
factually correct.
Just answer that very briefly, and then
Yeah, if I can.
Michael
So,
Mara.
Reform UK say rules changed in 2022 under the SNP changed local connection. The rules that were changed in 2022 have absolutely nothing to do with asylum and immigration. They have nothing to do with cross-border travel. All they mean, Gary, is, for example, if you become homeless in Inverness, say because of a domestic abuse incident, and you want to get out of Inverness, you can present as homeless in Glasgow, and Glasgow City Council won't
But
send you
it
back
also
to
means
the
now-
Highlands. It
it
has
also
nothing to do
means-
with
Thank you.
it also
Benny
means that
Flop said
refugees
it.
who are coming to Scotland, who are
Welcome
claiming
in.
they are here, when as soon as they're given leave to remain, are prioritised over housing. That is an
There
issue.
is no
That is an
priority.
issue. That
No,
is.
there is
That's
no
what
Let me
Brexit
bring in
has
Michael
done, and
Marr
you
at
know
this
that.
point then. Michael Marr, why do you think we're seeing this as a rising issue in terms of people's concerns? It's a nuanced debate, but perhaps we're not hearing the nuance.
No, I think it is a nuanced debate, and politicians don't get to tell the public what matters to them. What counts is what we do about it and how we react to it. So you can either tool up and try and actually address the issues, or you can try and exploit them. And I do think that, I read one of the direct mails that Reform are sending out over this election. It's entirely about immigration.
Military's
and it's-
mails.
and some of the language that they use are very inflammatory in the way that they're presenting this challenge. But people are saying that immigration, we've heard that in the package, they believe is too high.
Michael.
The Boris wave, we saw additional 2 million people, what Thomas's former colleagues in the Conservative
This was
Party
while
decided
Boris
to go
Johnson
for
was
that.
Prime Minister.
Exactly. A huge increase, and people are feeling the uncertainty that perhaps comes with that. But what we've seen now is that there's a more balanced approach in that. But actually, I think the thing that came through to the package to me in particular is around housing. And we have in Scotland the worst housing completion rate since almost the Second World War. The state of our housing policy in Scotland is really exacerbating.
Oh, fuck off. Yeah. By the way, everyone, that's Michael Marr, Scottish Labour. He's right, he wrote their manifesto. Oh, come on. This is annoying as fuck. I do apologise, everyone. Just fucking play. That's cooling down now, thank fuck. No? You don't want to work? Oh, fuck off then. Let's see if I can get it on YouTube. Maybe that'll work. Oh, I don't know. Same issue. Fuck. Oh, right. Yes, a lot of us did sell over there. You can thank the Highland clearances for that one. Oh, motherfucker. It's so much of fucking Martin Keisler. Hi, Martin. He does Scotcast now. But he did used to do the Sunday show. Ah, bollocks. Back to the iPlayer then. Go for school shoot. Very funny, Jim. Oh, stop with the fucking frame drops, you're in. Oh, no, still left. I will get through this, I fucking swear to God.
Your community, healthcare, and the cost of living. The decisions made.
Hello and welcome to The Sunday Show and the latest of our specially extended programmes on TV in the run-up to the Hollywood election on May the 7th. This
I'm feeling a lot better now, yes, thanks, Sozold. Rejoice, comrade. Sozold snake. Yeah. Arse still going numb. Oh, get to fuck, man. Just play. I've been going for nearly a fucking hour. And we've managed to get through 14 minutes essentially. Correct, Mr. E. It's brilliant, isn't it? Most of the hilarity comes from Jim Speak. Comedy genius.
when this was ranked as number 3.
There we go.
Why do you think we're seeing this change in attitude?
Well, I think that was an excellent package, which to me spoke to two very clear points, Gary. The first one is that people, on the whole, accept that migration is good for our economy, necessary for our economy, for our hospitality sector, health and social care, and our businesses. That was really reflected in the opinion there. But I think the other thing that was really reflected is that difficulties have been inflamed, they have been exploited, and they have been exploited by the party sitting next to me here, which has, I think, created a atmosphere of fear. People are looking around them, Gary, there's no doubt about it, wondering why they're having to work harder and why it's more difficult to make ends meet. I would say that's because the UK economy is not working for them. It's not the fault of migrants, but Reform UK would have them believe it was.
Well, what do you say to that, Thomas?
Well, I think that's the thing. Absolute privilege. If you come to working class areas across the Central Belt, places like in Glasgow, for example, Gary, what we see is the system is at breaking point, and we're saying enough is enough. We're reflecting what the public...
Thomas. We're not like that up here. I don't know what it's like on the ground in Shettleston, but up here in Springburn, no. We are very welcoming here. We know who the main culprits are, essentially. Saying nothing. I'd love for this bell end to come up to Springburn sometime. You might bang into me. Ha ha ha. Naughty. I'm glad you enjoy them. Carry on, you dickhead.
They're asking us to do, not trying to stir up anything. What we're speaking about is the fact. What we're saying.
Are some of the warmest and most welcoming people you can meet.
I agree. I spend every single day with Mary. I don't sit in a jail looking down on them. Trust me. I spend every single day in working class communities. So that's the difference between me and you.
You don't know anything about
what your government's done, though.
he has defected twice, and none of the people that voted him in as, oh, hang on. No, he shifted, so 22, 17 or 22, I can't remember. Between one of those ones, he defected to the Tories and he got voted back in, so he's defected once recently then, from Tory to Reform. The people who voted him in as a councillor when he was a Tory before he defected, they never got the option. I wonder if they're salty. We'll find out next year. With any fucking luck, he won't be here. People of Shettleston, I feel for you because he defected on yous. From basically, he jumped the sinking ship like a rat. Just because he could read the room and so, oh shit, my party's hated. Yeah. Yeah, they're hated. For someone who was originally in Labour, ending up in well, not a surprise really, not now. But back then, it was a bit of a shock for him to defect to the Tories from Labour. But they're not surprised. I'm not surprised that he jumped ship. Well, do you think that's a viable option for you, Thomas? Yeah. I will say again, we'll find out next May. Ha ha ha.
Is you as Housing Secretary and the SNP government removed an issue called the Local Connection Rule, which still exists in England, Wales and Northern Ireland, which is putting huge pressure on local communities, huge pressure on our housing sector, and we're seeing people prioritised over others here locally.
I don't think you understand
that's fact.
Bollocks. That's a lie, by the way. He's talking BS. And the local connection issue, oh god. That doesn't affect where the people... Right. They have no redress to public money. We didn't get a say. They gave us 1 week. It was even less than that. It was 5 days notice that they gave the Scottish Government that they were dumping people up here, Glasgow, Inverness, and other areas. We got 5 days notice. That is the level of contempt that they have for us up here in Westminster. We got 5 days before they dumped them in here. And understandably, the people here in Glasgow, up in Inverness, and the other areas that they've put these asylum seekers, and it is quite a shock to the system for people. It's criminal. They could have given us at least some notice, and longer notice than that, to make provisions for them. But no, 5 days. Bastards, essentially. The level of contempt knows no bounds, apparently. I really hope the unionist parties get fucked. I hope they get an absolute fucking beating a week on Thursday. I do. They deserve it. The Tories and their irrelevance. They were the main opposition in Holyrood before the election was called. 31 MSPs. They're going down to like 7. And it looks like they might. I thought Russell Finlay, the leader of the Scottish Tories, I thought he had a constituencies noise list. Right, so the local election counts will be happening. It's going to be, for me to actually cover all of it, we're talking, right, polls close at 10. I'll need to ask Kev or Helena what time they'll be expecting the first result to get announced. So I might go live. They don't start counting up here until 9 AM on the Friday morning. That you will be guaranteed to have me for that, and I'm debating whether to go live for the results for the locals. So people have options. Kev, Helena. I don't know if Turn Left are going to be doing it. So I might do that. Right, it was overheating. I've had to put it up. Can you stay? It's a lot quieter than the previous one I've got, which is in a box behind me on the sofa, or next to the sofa. Yeah, you might get me for it, which means I'll just go all the way through, which will be fun. Pretty sure they'll let me, but fuck it, we'll see how I feel. You're guaranteed to get me on the Friday morning though. So they start counting at 9. We'll be expecting the first results around lunchtime, so 12ish. 12ish. They have to do the constituency vote first, because that's how the additional members get calculated. You're guaranteed your last on Friday morning. We'll see how I'm feeling, whether I go live for the locals or not. Because I am genuinely curious about what happens, especially Brum. Yeah, we'll find out, don't you worry. But yeah, let's just play by ear, shall we? Oh God, my election mix. I get my benefit on Tuesday. I've got the Scottish Green Party, an actual party in the East End. Just it's basically right next to the Barras. So I'm going to that on Thursday. Fun. So I need to keep money for that. Then I'm going to have an array of snacks to my left on the bookcase. You know, like crisps and sandwiches and nuggets or something. So that will be fun. But if I do go live on the Thursday for the locals in England, I'll get like, I don't know, a bag of Maltesers or something. Box of Maltesers. Or maybe a tub of celebrations. We will see.
Correct.
Works. No,
That's
it's not. Let me,
factually
Gary,
Just answer that very briefly, and then
yeah, if I can. So,
Michael
Reform UK say rules changed in 2022 under the SNP changed local connection. The rules that were changed in 2022 have absolutely nothing to do with asylum and immigration. They have nothing to do with cross-border travel. All they mean, Gary, is, for example, if you become homeless in Inverness, say because of a domestic abuse incident, and you want to get out of Inverness, you can present as homeless in Glasgow, and Glasgow City Council won't send you back to the Highlands. It has nothing to do with cross-border travel.
It also means that refugees who are coming to Scotland, who are claiming that they are here when as soon as they're given leave to remain, are prioritised over housing. That is an issue.
There is no priority.
That is an issue. That is. That's what the election's done. You know that.
Utter fucking bollocks. See, that's the main issue. They keep on saying this fucking this shite. Are you away, Sozzled? Good night all. Hope you are all doing well. Thank you. Thank you for visiting. It's always a pleasure to have you here, Sozzled. It really is. Say good night to Sozzled Snake, everyone. Stay hydrated, not necessarily with Magners. Self-care is good care. Take your meds if you need to take any. Stay based. Free Palestine. And tell Reform to piss off and stop telling lies. Catch you later, Sozzled. Mwah. Good night. Yes, yeah, it is. Because when Andy Luke came through to visit his friends, Akis and Jenny, Random Scottish History, go and check her out. Jenny is awesome. When I got invited, I went along, yes, and I did buy them. Because the sweet tooth, even though it fucking hurts me. The level of toothache I go through, holy fuck. And there was still my favourite burger stall in the Barras. Been there for fucking decades. The first time that I went to it was before I moved down here. We used to come through each summer to visit Gran and Grandad, who lived in Annie's Land. And we usually went to the Barras on Saturday. So the Barras is a market. It has been there forever. I love the Barras. It is amazing. Ah! Ha ha ha! I bought this here. Look, the legend himself. In the guise of Ziggy Stardust here. I miss him desperately. He was awesome. No! Fuck! Whoops! Damn it, I need to stand up to put him back so he doesn't fall. Boom. There we go, go there, you legend. There we go. Oh no, they're guaranteed business, some of these places in the Barras. Footfall has fallen a bit recently. It's not really... It's recovered a bit after the pandemic, after lockdown and stuff like that. But it has been knocked a bit. Don't get me wrong, it's usually quite busy on Saturday. And a little bit of a dip on the Sunday. But yeah. The Saturday's a bop. It's good going on a Saturday.
Right then, Michael Barrett, why do you think we're seeing this as a rising issue in terms of people's concerns? It's a nuanced debate, but perhaps we're not hearing the nuance.
No, I think it is a nuanced debate. And politicians don't get to tell the public what matters.
Why is it an issue? Why is it third in people's priorities? It's because the wank in the middle and his ilk, including Lord Offord, who is the leader up here in Scotland, Malcolm Lord Offord of Darvel. Itchy, itchy. My pain patch, called Cividine, is really quite itchy. The way it's transdermal, so it's a patch. The drug, essentially the medicine, gets absorbed through the skin and goes through that way. But because of that, the way it goes through, people with more sensitive skin, which I do, so not my face, oddly enough, just certain parts of my body, my skin, get quite irritated, and it's really fucking itchy, and I feel like literally clawing at my arm. I try not to do that, it's bad enough. Dries out the skin, makes it... oh god. I'll post a picture of it in Discord.
To them, what counts is what we do about it and how we react to it. So you can either tool up and try and address the issues, or you can try and exploit them. And I do think that, I read one of the direct mails that Reform are sending out over this election. It's entirely about immigration, and it's in some of the...
What? See? That's mental. I assume you're not. Because some of the shit that I see on the stream. Rejoice comrades, Red Rust 308 in chat. Hi Red. Welcome in. My dad used to take me down Paddy's Market. Did he? Fucking hell. Gone now. Hello, hello. Everyone, go and follow Red Rust. They are awesome. They are basist. They are enjoyer of Oxygen Not Included like myself, and Baldur's Gate 3, and Battletech. How's it going, Red? Rejoice. Sunday show. With an election special coverage of a certain topic. Today's one, immigration, which is a reserved matter. We don't get immigration control up here in Scotland. It's not devolved. And they won't devolve it because security. We are an ageing population, plus we need the fucking tax base. Tell that to Westminster. You can yell at them in their face with a loudspeaker and they still won't fucking hear us. This is Michael Mara of Scottish Labour. He wrote the party manifesto for them. How's that going for you, Michael? They are polling fourth.
Language that they use are very inflammatory in the way that they're presenting this challenge. But people are saying that immigration, we've heard that in the package, they believe is too high. And clearly the Boris wave, we saw additional 2 million people, what promises former colleagues of the Conservative
This
Party.
was while Boris Johnson was Prime Minister.
Exactly.
I thought it was 1 million. The number is meaningless at this point.
What we've seen now is there's a more balanced proportion of that. But actually I think the thing that came through to the package to me in particular is around housing. And we have in Scotland the worst housing completion rate since almost the Second World War. The state of our housing policy in Scotland is really exacerbating these issues in terms of where people see competition for like core social provision.
This is your area, Mary McCallan. In terms of house building, between 17 and 18,000 new homes built last year, mostly by the private sector. Social sector only completed what, about between 3,600 and 4,500. The number of rental homes decreasing, part due to tax changes, increasing demand, raised rental prices, landlord exodus. All of these things are an issue. Housing emergencies across the country. And that is feeding into this debate, isn't it?
So there's no doubt that there's housing pressure, and I have always, as Housing Secretary, been absolutely clear that migration and housing are two separate
nice one,
policies, and I will
Fuzzmat.
never, ever
Glad to hear that.
blame migration
No,
for
there's
housing
house building
pressures.
happening here in
But
Glasgow
we also
as well.
shouldn't present it as though it were just the
Rejoice.
case in Scotland. So,
Fun.
for
It's
example,
good.
the EU
Improve.
in 2024 created the post of Housing Commissioner for the first time in recognition of pressures across the continent. Sadiq Khan, Michael's colleague in London, is overseeing and trying to work through some of the, will probably be epicentre of homelessness in the UK. It's because of a perfect storm of things, Gary, whereby prevailing economic conditions have depressed construction, and difficulties in the cost of living have made it harder for households to make ends meet.
But as Housing Secretary, hang on a second, but as Housing Secretary you had targets, and it looks as though the target certainly for 2032, you're going to have to double the rate of house building.
We are building more up here than they are south of the border. Care to mention that, Michael? Oh, Thomas even. At least we're building houses. Okay, we're missing the targets. At least we're building more than yous. Just saying. But what do I know? I'm a lefty loony. It did indeed, Mr. E. It did. I am, full credit, I voted for Remain because I didn't want that shower of fucking clowns in charge. And look at it. I am now Lexit. Now if we get a decent left-wing government in place, we might take full advantage of being outside of the EU. But that is in the good graces of the people of the United Kingdom, and they don't.
We have currently to meet that target. It's not going to be met, is it? That's part of the problem, isn't it? People are made promises that are not delivered.
Well, the SNP promised that we would build 100,000 new affordable homes, and we met that target just after COVID, and now we're into our second target, which is another 110,000 by 2032. I described that perfect storm. One of the reasons we are aided in weathering the storm in Scotland is because we've had an SNP government that has consistently and substantially invested in affordable homes, to the extent that we now have 69% more affordable homes per head of population than in Wales, and 45%
But that
more
target
than
by
in
2032 is not going to be met, is it?
We're about a third of the way there, and just some of the last
Are you really
things.
going to be doubling the amount of houses that you've been building year
Everything we can in place to do that, including a record housing budget and a new agency.
Over the last 2 years, things have got worse. You know, we're looking at the lowest housing completion rate.
button's vanished, that's weird. Yeah. That's why I'm up for it. The property prices here is fucking... No, like the prices is like Glasgow's a little bit more affordable. I'll give you that. There's like parts of the south side, parts of the West End, which is Partick, like Down Hill and Jordan Hill and stuff like that. The house prices there are quite expensive, and parts leading up to where my gran and granddad and where my dad's from, which is Annisland, so Great Western Road. The houses going up that way, they're more expensive. The Georgian houses essentially. They're beautiful, don't get me wrong, but the prices of them fucking mental. Edinburgh's mad. The entire Edinburgh property market is fucking crazy. Like, I've talked to friends who live there. No, like my middle sister's got friends that live over in Edinburgh, and during the last Holyrood campaign, I asked them. I got access to them through my sister, and I asked them, so what? How are the housing prices there? Are they still crazy? Yes, they're fucking mental. Compulsory purchase them. The ones that like there's screeds of housing empty, not getting used. Outright ban second homes that don't get lived in for vast majority of the year. Like, they use them as a summer home for a getaway. No. Get wrecked. Yeah, private landlords. ELAP. Oh, I will put that in chat. ELAP. Oh, the button's back.
It's in many decades, and that's partly because the SNP cut the affordable housing budget as part of an emergency panic
Darling, you're
budget
back.
halfway through
Hello.
the year, which has become a feature of the SNP's governance of the public
And of the Mayor of London's governance of London, presumably then.
In terms of the emergency cuts that he made to that budget, those were decisions that John Swinney and the SNP made. And that's one of the things that's ripped the actual supply right down to those lower levels. So we have to address this. It's 20 years the SNP.
Correct, Omaha. That's a policy proposal that I've been
and we have to be
promoting.
held responsible for it.
You also cannot say that migration and housing are not similar issues,
You know what?
because in
Thank
Glasgow,
you, my
the latest
dear.
figures we have, Matty, is right now there's 9,334 people who are homeless, 65% of them are illegal migrants. So to say that you cannot put those two issues in the same boat, I think is madness.
Well,
no recourse to public money, you dickhead. The vast majority of the ones getting put here in Glasgow are asylum seekers. No recourse to public money. And wait to hear what Mary says. I agree with it. It is really quite good. Thomas, you're a bell end. I watched this earlier on, I can't remember. Fuck. I suppose we'll find out, Fosmos.
What we've seen from your government is that you're more focused on building agencies and more quangos than you are on actually building homes. If you go and spend some time in housing associations across the country, they will tell you
That's
your government...
exactly what
well,
I
you're
do
not doing a good job
all the
listening then,
time.
you're doing a good job lecturing.
My housing association is a charity. I got decanted to when they were fixing this place. Damp and mould and other fucking assorted issues. The kitchen was a fucking mess. It needed fixed. Got a brand new kitchen, brand new bathroom. They look brilliant now. They reduced our storage capacity in the kitchen though. Bit pissed off about that. But it does look gorgeous now. I love my new kitchen. Looks great. So I got put up in a high rise. Just up a bit. I will not say where. I'm not going to dox myself. But yeah, I had a lot of migrants, a lot of asylum seekers get put in, it's like a skyrise. I hated it. 22 floors up. I could literally feel the building moving in the wind. So a lot of them get put there. Oh god. Oh. 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 Fucking cramp. Oh. I'll be back in 2 minutes to chat. I apologise. 2 minutes, please. No. Haha, I return. will we pop up?
But listening to those people, and I suspect you're spending more time listening to them.
I'm very, very happy to. So as I said, this is a global phenomenon with pressures on housing and housing precarity for individuals, and one of the reasons we've been able to weather that storm is because we have consistently and substantially invested in affordable homes. Now, some of the last things that we did prior to Parliament falling was make the record investment in affordable homes in the devolution era, coupled that with an agency to make sure that there's simplicity,
but previous cuts to the budget, as Michael Mara points out.
It also doesn't feel for the 10,500 children who are living in temporary accommodation.
Oh, fudge. Enjoy your fudge, Mr. E. Stay hydrated. Self-care is good care. Take your meds if you need to, Kenny. Stay based. Free Palestine. And enjoy your fudge. I'm jealous of you now. Mind you, in saying that, Super Hubby loves me. Oh god, they're all coming together. Ah! Pear drops. It's been ages since I've had pear drops.
Storm is being weathered.
So, no, I'm saying it's helping us to weather the storm, but we're putting actions in place. So, for example, I made £80 million available to councils last year to say go now and immediately buy family homes so that we can get children out of temporary accommodation. People have a right to temporary accommodation in Scotland, which sets us apart a little bit. I obviously see it as a key safety net, but I do want people to spend less time there.
Let me ask you about jobs as well, because that was one of the clear messages that we heard there from people in the Highlands. They're struggling to get people to fill core jobs in hospitality and also in the care sector as well. How do you, Thomas Kerr, given what you've said about migration, deal with that? Do you accept that we need people coming into the country to fill those
There's
jobs?
two very different issues that get conflated a lot in this debate. There's the issue of illegal migration, which is what Reform has spoken about a lot, and the issue of legal migration, which are...
Mary mentions that. Yeah. They abstained. At least if they voted against that, it showed them being more credible because they're in opposition. Or not, they're not in government. But yeah, abstaining. Cowards. Cowards. And they know the block grants went down. Austerity doesn't fucking work, chat. Funny, who'd have thunk it, really? And that was happening when he was still Tory. So he doesn't have a leg to stand on either. And he doesn't have a stand for him. Carry on, you wank.
People who are coming to our country, integrating properly and
What
given
do
to
you
our
consider
society.
illegal migration? Just to,
What do
just to get that on the
I
record?
consider the fact that Glasgow's at breaking point right now because of asylum seekers
So
and
the
refugees.
refugee
I
convention
consider
means
that.
that if a person is illegal,
Right,
everyone has a right to claim
I'm not
asylum.
surprised that you'd rather prioritise strangers over Scotland. That says a lot about the SNP more than it does me. But going back to the point, Gary, what I want to try and...
Get wrecked! Bastard! Still knows it. I've not heard of that one. Have fun playing that video. So, Reddy, you still here? I saw you come up. I've got 3 of yous now that pop up when you go and play something through Steam. So I've got you and 2 other comrades. And I can see what games they play that pops up in the bottom right hand corner. I noticed that you were playing BG3. I hope you had fun. Can you believe this bastard?
is make sure that work pays, because we have thousands of people, particularly young people in our country, who are not working at the moment because right now work doesn't pay. So what Reform has done is we put taxation at the very heart of our policy to make sure we make the economy grow, to give people more money in their pocket.
The Labour government down in Westminster can raise the minimum wage. £12.75 is still crap in my opinion. Like my eldest nephew is working, he's not even on that, which is cheers. Just raise it up to, what was it, I can't remember what the percentage is. Helena would know. Ask Helena. But we worked it out at like £15 or £16 an hour, which is more than £12.75. It's a good place to start. I'd want the minimum wage to be at least £15 an hour. Thank God we're not America. Their federal minimum wage is shit. Don't get me wrong, there are cities and states that actually have a betterment. That's the floor, the $7.25, which is, like I said, shit. But there's states, mostly blue states, oddly enough, who'd have think that'd be more than that. I think some of them are like $20 an hour, which would be roughly what our minimum wage is. Give me a minute. Convert. Right. $20. £15. So there's two. So the $20 that some of these blue states and blue cities are doing is roughly what I'd be wanting. About £15 an hour. For a long time, until Helena explained it to me, I said £20 minimum. That should be the floor. But that would have a disemployment effect. You know, £15 or £16 an hour wouldn't. So set the floor at £15 an hour. Not that his party will do that if they ever get into government down in London. As a fuzzmas, that's not too bad actually. Would you say 50? You don't need to see what your job is. Is £15 an hour enough for your household for you to live a decent life? Better than a kick in the teeth, I would assume. Like the last job that I done, I was on. You have to remember this was back over 20 years ago at this point. I was on £16 an hour, and that was 20 years ago. I was working for BT. Still on minimum wage helps, to be honest.
It's to make sure that we tackle the biggest issue that's facing this country, which is people who are not sitting, who are sitting at home and not going to work.
But Care Scotland have told us in the past, Scottish Care, sorry, have told us in the past that if every school leaver went into the care sector, we still wouldn't have enough people. So we do need people coming from outside. Do you accept that we need to bring in migrants?
That's what I was going to say, which is why Reform's Manifesto in 2024, and we spoke about this before, if there's gaps that exist, then we do want people to come and be able to fill those gaps. So care was one in particular in 2024 that Reform did have.
I don't think it is, Mr. E.
To fill those gaps, but the big point here is I want to train up our own young people. I want to get more people in Scotland back into work and stop using the idea of just using immigration to top up. Let's try and focus on our young people.
And isn't the reality, Michael Marrow, that your government made the process of
There is not enough people who are capable of work, and you're not forcing me back in, Thomas. Get wrecked. Plus, I'm 47. And I'm disabled. I'm a bit fucked to go into the care sector. If anything, I probably need to care. Which I get from Super Hubby. Really good carer from me. But yeah, the rhetoric of economically inactive includes people like me and people like Super Hubby, who's my full-time carer. Now, if they were to force him back into work, they'd need to give a carer to me, which would outstrip the gains they would get by putting him back into work. I need him to help get washed and dressed and stuff like that. He cooks for me, blah blah blah. So yes, I'd need a carer coming in at least 2 or 3 times a week.
taking in these much needed workers from abroad even more difficult because the salary threshold is too high for the kind of jobs that we're talking about. It's been raised from £26,200 to just under £39,000, and that won't be the people who need to work in hospitality, for instance, or the care sector.
Well, we do have key skill shortages across the country in critical
And made worse by that policy from Labour.
What I would say to you is that we know also that in Ayrshire there's 81 young people who applied to get into health and social care training who weren't afforded a place, who were sitting on a waiting list, and that's because the SNP have cut college budgets by 20% in the last 4 years. So if we don't get that resource in to actually build a skill system that can help young people in Scotland to meet those gaps, then we will be presenting with key problems in these areas.
I think that's pretty weak for Michael. First of all, our budget that we've just passed had very much enhanced package for colleges, but Michael and his colleagues couldn't even bring themselves to vote for it. So that demonstrates how much they care about young people's education in college. But look, Labour have closed the social care visa route, which is absolutely undermining the number of people that we need to come in and work in social care, and everybody knows that your ability to get a care package and to come out of hospital is one of the key pressures on our NHS just now. So you can see the folly behind reform, and I have to say Labour, who've completely tried to out-reform reform in all of this by taking a divisive approach to immigration instead of realising that actually Scotland's story has been too few people, not too many, and we are a welcoming nation.
herself though said there's a breakdown of social cohesion because of migration. Are you saying that she's divisive like me and Michael, or is that just not? Is that not so?
That is he irritates me so fucking much, chat. God damn it. It's not a fucking issue, you dickhead. Yeah, she's great, isn't she? I like Mary a lot. This man is infuriating, isn't he, chat?
It's not about political narrative, it's about people's lives and the division and the hatred that you are trying to sow.
To accuse me of divisiveness is narrative. That's what you're doing yourself. I'm using language that your own party itself has said in Glasgow.
I'm not going to talk over you, but your party not that long ago were attacking bilingual children in Glasgow. Beautiful Glaswegian children who can speak 2 languages that we should be proud of. You use them as a political tool. Do not talk to me about division.
Let me ask you about the situation in Inverness, where there's a plan to house 300 asylum seekers, male asylum seekers in the Cameron Barracks. It's pretty near the city centre. Is this the right approach?
I think the approach that's being used to try and use disused military bases and other centres across the country is right. I don't think Cameron Barracks is the right place to have.
We can't legislate on that, Thomas. Reserved fucking issue. If you have an issue with it, ask Labour in Westminster. And they done us a disservice, giving us 5 days fucking notice that they were putting the people there. Right? Reserved matter, dickhead.
It's a highly densely populated area. What I want to see is places across the country utilised which are in more rural areas away from population centres to make sure that that's more effective. I think that's how we have to try.
How does that help those people integrate, though?
You still fucking moaned about the ones that they put in Perthshire, which were nowhere near the city. It's a former army base, essentially. Concert halls? No, the dumb ones. They moaned about them getting put there. Which is about 12 miles outside of Perth. All the racists essentially moaned about, why are you putting them here? We don't get to say where they get put. That is solely Westminster that decides where to put them, not us. You can talk to Michael if you want about it, because he's in the party. Might be an MSP, but he's still in Labour.
coming here potentially to stay.
People can integrate when they finally have their visas ticked through, when asylum claims go through, and when the Home Office deals with it. But these people come here illegally. What I actually want to see, Gary, and it's not an issue we can deal with as a devolved parliament, is I want to see deportations of people who come here illegally. That's what I want to see. That's what Reform wants to see. But that won't happen until Nigel gets into number 10. So we're looking at issues right now that we can try and tackle
the
that.
UK government has been sending
issues
people back. Michael Mara, just on that issue of the Cameron barracks, was that the wrong move from the Home Office?
Well, I think what we'd hear from Thomas is not here, not in this position, and when the next proposal comes along, he'll say exactly the same thing again. What we have to be clear is that the Labour government inherited a situation where the public government paid billions of pounds for asylum hotels, which had been promoted by the Conservative government, and they're trying to solve that issue by every means possible. Try and find all kinds of... This is not an easy challenge to solve.
But
People
did
have to
they
be...
get it right or wrong? When
Cricket does us to bring it up at CMQs, but yeah, actually, CMQs first. Good point. Christmas.
As I say, these people, and they are people who are fleeing terrible situations, have to actually be accommodated somewhere, and we have to find that before we get to a point of deportation, if that's the end point of the journey for some of them.
The right or wrong approach?
We were concerned about the approach because firstly there was a lack of consultation with the Scottish Government, and our principal concern was that there weren't services going to be wrapped around individuals, and I think the point there about integration is absolutely right. We believe we have international obligations. Not only are some of the things that Reform support, like going two-footed into international conflicts and not believing climate science, actually driving migration, so we have to accept that we've got those obligations. We have to be able to house people properly, and Cameron Barracks was not the right approach.
Should more responsibility for this topic be devolved to Holyrood?
No, I don't think it should. I don't think you can devolve issues when it comes to immigration to Holyrood. It's part of the reason why I don't think that independence would work, because I think the idea of having a hard border...
Well, we've had policies in the past to deal with the skills...
Fuck off. I don't care what you think about independence, it's up to us. Okay, fair enough, you are Scottish. I'll give you that. It is not up to you what powers get devolved. It should be up to us what happens here. Just saying. And yeah, they will never devolve that, by the way, ever. Doesn't matter what party's in charge, none of them will devolve it to us. Security.
Yeah, for instance, under Jack McConnell when he was
certain
First
issues
Minister.
where you can try and tackle skill gaps and whatever else that comes, Gary, but the difference is you cannot devolve immigration. Immigration is a UK-wide issue. We're an island. We face that issue right across the whole country. I don't believe in trying to devolve that to Holyrood. And the last thing I'd say is that every single issue that's been devolved to the Scottish Parliament is in a worse state now than when the SNP came to power. So I think the idea of going marrying our colleagues, control over immigration would terrify most of the country.
And what would you do if you had control over immigration? Would you set any kind of level, any cap on the number of people coming to Scotland?
So every country has to have immigration under control, of course they do, but what we would do is use it to address the social and economic challenges and opportunities in our country. So we've actually, in a devolved context, already set out a number of proposed visa routes that we think Scotland needs, whether that's study, work or family reunification.
But would you set limits?
Of course you have to have, and you have to have a points-based system which matches people this is immigration we're talking about, of course, matches people coming in with what your country needs. But on asylum, in our building in Scotland, we were on this very issue. We were clear that we would take a responsible, human rights-based approach, but one key difference, Gary, is that we would let asylum seekers work, so they can contribute to the country in which they're seeking asylum and integrate.
Why is Labour not keen now to allow the Scottish Government to have any kind of say over this, Michael Mara? I mean, I mentioned this Fresh Talent initiative under Jack McConnell, which...
Good question, Gary. Not that you're going to get a good answer from Michael.
Students to settle in Scotland for a couple of years after they graduate. Why not something like that?
Well, there are provisions within the UK laws to make sure that we can have special address for problems in the Scottish economy and gaps, and that there be specific issues. And what we actually need is two governments that can work together properly. So we need, and that's the previous, when Jack McConnell when Jack McConnell put this in place, it was because he was able to work constructively with the UK government. So that's a kind of illustration of what proper collaboration and cooperation can actually bring to Scotland. It's not what we get with the SNP.
One of the interesting things, just going round Inverness, and we've been out to other parts of the country as well during this run, is the reaction you get from people when you say, we want to talk to you about politics. Many of them shrug their shoulders. There does seem to be a degree of apathy out there. What are you detecting? Are you worried about low turnout, for instance, Margaret?
Yeah, I think, I've been speaking to a lot of people on the doors in the campaign, and I certainly do detect, I think if people are scared. People are looking at the world around them, they're seeing a tumultuous situation between over the Atlantic and in the Middle East.
And don't feel any of you can make any difference?
I suppose they wonder what we can, and then they also have this sense that they've been living through a period of economic volatility where we've had consecutively what ought to have been once in a lifetime events, and people are extremely run down by them. But when you speak to them, Gary, and when you explain how what the SNP has been doing is about them trying to protect them from that, and our policies that are going to continue to support them, like a £2 bus cap, like support on food prices, they are willing to listen.
What's your sense on the doorstep from this?
I don't think people are scared. I don't think people are scared. I think people are scunnered. I think they're really, really angry at the entire political establishment, including the two next to them. They voted for change in 2024. Nothing really came of it when it came to the Labour Party. We've had 20 years of a failing SNP government. Mary says that when she's on the doors and explains what the SNP's done, they're doing well, which is why they're 10 points down from where you were in 2021.
But if people are scunnered and they don't come out to vote, that's a problem for you as much as it is for the other parties.
But what we are sensing from reform is an enthusiasm. We were out and about, people speak to me all the time, people are supportive of reform. I think that we're going to surprise them.
Correct, Cosmos, yeah.
Are you going to tell me the same thing, that people are scunnered with everybody else apart from your party?
I think that people...
no, we're very scunnered of Labour. Trust me on that, Gary. We are.
We want everybody to go out and vote. We want to have a clear mandate for whatever government is elected. I do think there's an awful lot of people out there who feel that the SNP have come to the end of the road after 20 years, and they're making up their minds in these last 2 weeks about how to get that done. I'll make that pitch. I think it's Scottish Labour on the May 7th.
SNP are on track to get 67 fucking constituencies.
Support reform, evidently.
Let me just thank you all three for being here.
Your second in command, Jackie Bailey, looks like she's going to lose her seat. Ha 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 ha!
Debate night will be on your screens and podcast feeds once again this Wednesday with a special programme. Here's Stephen Jordan to tell us more.
Thank you. With just over a week to go to the Holyrood elections, it's a special edition of Debate Night this Wednesday. I'll be joined in Glasgow by an audience of young voters, some undecided and many voting for the first time. They'll put their questions to the 6 largest parties. If you want to come along and join us, go to the website for more information, bbc.co.uk/debate night, and make sure you join us. Debate Night on Wednesdays, 9 on the BBC Scotland channel, or a bit later on BBC One Scotland.
Well, there are still places left in the audience, so if you are a younger voter and fancy taking part, do get in touch. Now, if you've been following the Sunday show recently, you'll be aware that we have been out and about gauging opinion on some of the big issues of the Scottish Parliament election campaign. And one thing that has been hard to avoid is the widespread feeling of apathy towards politics and a distrust of politicians. So we've also been asking people a more general question, the answer to which could play a major role in the result, namely, will you vote? And we've had some interesting responses.
I've voted since I was 18 and I'm 64 now and I'm not doing it this year.
I recognise that high street. I hope not, with the rabid Brexit bastards. You have to remember, these young people wouldn't have been able to vote back then in the referendum. The EU referendum, or the independence one for that matter, 2 years before it. I'm assuming a good few of them are going to be indie supporters. Good.
I'm done. And that's my protest, because none of them are worth bothering.
That's perfect.
Maybe not as engaged as they should be, but if I don't vote, it's a vote wasted.
I'm of an age where I've been doing this for a long, long time, and you get the same things from the same people, and nothing ever changes.
I do intend to vote, but if you ask me who, I'm going to be totally honest with you, I've got not a clue at the moment, because you know what, I don't believe in anyone.
Force of habit, I've always voted because my grandparents would have murdered me.
Stop speaking to boomers!
They could fight for everything.
Yeah, I'm not very clever when it comes to politics, but I do have a passion for my particular party and what they can do for Scotland.
Some interesting views there. Well, Professor Ailsa Henderson joins me now from Edinburgh. Welcome back, Ailsa. Some interesting comments there. A snapshot of public opinion. I wonder what the opinion polls have been saying, though, in the last week.
Well, we've had 2 polls in the last week from Find Out Now and from Survation. Both are putting the SNP on 35%. They've got kind of margin of error differences for Conservatives, Labour and Reform, but where they really differ is in Green support. Find Out Now are predicting Green support in the constituencies at 12%, even though we know they're only standing in six constituencies. Pollsters really need to stop offering Greens as an option for all respondents in samples because it really skews the results. When you limit that access, you get figures more like Survation's, where they are on 1% in the constituencies. If you compare that Survation poll to a comparable Survation poll before 2021, then it looks like the SNP are down about 15 points, Conservatives down about 8, Labour more or less holding their own.
You say 2 polls this week. Is that unusual to just have that number?
Yeah, I mean, this week before the 2021 election, we would have had 6 polls. And also, if you look at the period from February until this weekend, we had 22 polls from 9 providers in the 2021 election, whereas in this same period, we've had 16 from 7 providers, but 4 of those are MRP polls. So actually, we've had half as much normal polling as we normally would in a Scottish election. And what that means is that we have many fewer questions to help us understand what the electorate is actually thinking.
And in terms of the enthusiasm for all of this, we heard from the politicians there. They were quite honest that actually they feel there might be a scunner factor, as they put it, amongst the electorate. Are we picking up this sense of perhaps hopelessness or apathy from the...
Now, for the non-Scots in the chat, scunnered basically means fed up. Or scunnered. Like I scunnered myself on baked beans, which is literally true, I have. And I can understand why a lot of people are scunnered. Can I blame them? I'm not, I'm a political nerd. This is candy for me. Even though I do get frustrated with some of them. Most of them, actually.
There are some signs. When we want to look at turnout in particular, we look at the percentage of people telling us they are 10 out of 10 likely to vote in this election. We know compared to previous elections that those figures are down by about 10 points in YouGov polls, down by about 5 points in Ipsos polls. So and since we know that the figure saying 10 out of 10 I am likely to vote is always higher than actual turnout, what that suggests is that we would be looking at turnout in the low 50s to mid 50s. But actually, it was 2021 that was the unusual election because turnout was so high at 63.5%. If we look at turnout in devolved elections since 99.
I speak for this area only, but there is a trend. Whenever there's been, I'll use my constituency for Westminster and for the independence referendum. So the turnout for here to get rid of the like this area was Labour since the Stone Age, and when we got fed up with them, the turnout here to vote in Anne McLaughlin was in the mid-60s. The independence referendum, the turnout for this area in Glasgow, it went on the councils. But for this area particularly, 82% turnout for the Indie Ref. And that when that figure got released, I was jumping for joy. He was in the kitchen doing something, I can't remember what he was doing. And he came in and said, look, just with a mad grin on my face, what are you so happy about? 89% turnout for here. You what? For the referendum? Aye. Fucking hell. And we were one of the main ones that supported the independence here in Springburn. It's like we were fed up or something. Who'd have thunk it? Just what sort of the lot is. Just give us our country back, please. Thank you. And I was dancing around the living room like a lunatic. You know, if we get activated enough to turn out here turn out in the more deprived areas to send a message, we're fucking stop being shit.
Low 50s to mid 50s is more or less where it consistently lands. So it's actually things returning to normal rather than 2026 looking like an unusually up.
Oh, he's been a bastard, by the way. The individual in his scratcher. He's saying that turnout's going to be under 40. He said 35%. I hope he gets proven wrong. I really do. But fuck, he's usually correct. He said before the independence referendum, he estimated, I think it's going to be above 70. He didn't actually realise it was going to be that high. Frame drops.
Yeah, and I presume 2021 would put that down perhaps to COVID and what people had been through.
COVID, but also I think people were wondering about the potential for an SNP majority, as we are talking about this time around. But last time around, it looked, I think, a little bit more like a majority SNP government might be able to call a referendum and act on it, whereas there are more, there are more restrictions in terms of a legal pathway now. So it could well be that we perceive a majority government to be less significant a milestone than we did in 2021.
Yeah, are there other signs of apathy, if I can put it that way, or lack of engagement?
Yeah, I mean, the Survation poll this week asked people whether they were aware of the boundary changes and whether they knew how it affected their own constituency. So Boundaries Scotland has to review the electoral boundaries for constituencies and regions periodically to make sure that they are more or less the same size. And the value of that is that the value of a vote in one part of the country is not worth more or less the value of a vote in another part. And we know that there have been changes to about 2/3 of constituencies for this election. But when we asked people if they were aware of that, then only 1 in 5 knew that there had been, what the boundary changes were and how they affected them in their constituency. So that's one sign of perhaps a lack of engagement with what's going on in this election.
And what about the electoral system itself? I mean, it is slightly complicated compared perhaps to other elections. Do people fully understand how all of that works?
Yeah, we have good news on that front. I think in the 2021 Scottish election study, we asked people factual questions about the electoral system, and only 6% got a factual question wrong. They thought that you couldn't actually vote for the same party on both the constituency and the regional ballot. So I think that's reassuring in terms of how the electoral system works. But I would say there's 2 caveats to that. One is that we don't feel we have an awful lot of knowledge about the electoral system. When asked about whether you feel you have a decent knowledge and understanding, only about a quarter put their knowledge at 8, 9 or 10.
My Scottish comrades say to friends and family members that I am here. I can educate them in this regard if they want. So Fuzzmas, the Sozzled's gone, idiosyncrasy when he's here. Tell friends and family that if they need education, they can come onto the stream. They can come and visit, and I can educate them. Because, again, political nerd. Oh, fucking itchy ear, for Christ's sake. Ugh. Gross.
Of 10. So we don't feel we know a lot, even if we do. And the other thing is that there's a difference between knowing what the rules of the electoral system are and understanding how to use it strategically. And when asked whether it is worth voting for a party at the regional level, on the regional ballot, if they have done well in the constituencies, then about 1/3 were not aware that it might result in a wasted vote.
Yeah, we won't ask you to explain the DeHont system for your sake and
Well,
for the
I
sake.
can, if you
Well, I
want
know
me
you
to.
can, but for your sake and for the sake of the voter, I think we'll leave that to another time. You focus each week on.
Correct, Mr. Reid, yeah. Ah! Shit.
Understood. So, here is my guide to how the whole...
About that.
It's 2016 and the Scottish Parliament elections are
Yes.
approaching. On the 5th of May, we'll be heading to the polling stations to elect our new government. The problem is, the system we use to do that isn't widely understood. So, here is my guide to how the Holyrood voting system actually works. The Scottish Parliament is called Holyrood. It was founded back in 1999 after the signing of the Scotland Act. The Parliament building is pretty awesome, and it was only 10 times over budget and 3 years late to build, but we got there. And since getting there, we've done some great stuff. The queer marriage, the smoking ban, and of course free prescriptions, eye care, dental treatment and education, despite Westminster not allowing to provide any of that to the rest of the UK or Scotland. But it's not only our policies that tend to be better than Westminster, our voting system is too. Westminster uses a system called first past the post, so in each constituency or area in the UK, we each get one vote. Those votes are counted up and whoever got the most votes wins. And that seems like a fair way to do it until you actually think about it more. Because it leads to situations where somebody can be elected despite only having 25% of support from the entire community. It's just that the other votes were split between other parties and were lower. Another way of looking at that is 75% of that area do not want that candidate to represent them. The Westminster system is completely undemocratic. The Conservative Party in power now, who have so far managed to rack up more debt than every Labour government in the history of the UK, have only got 36.7% of the vote in the UK, meaning that the majority of folk here do not want a Conservative government, but we're stuck with it because of the poor voting system at Westminster. I should add that in Scotland, the Conservatives only got 15% of the vote, making it even more undemocratic that they have any say here, but hey, we did vote to stay a part of the UK on account of those shared values or something. So to create a semi-proportional parliament, we use a system called the additional member system, or specifically, a version of it called the DeHont method. Doesn't matter what it's called though, the point is that instead of getting one vote, we get two. A constituency vote and a regional vote. We have two votes instead of one, so that we can have a semi-proportional system that was built to encourage parties to better work together, rather than it becoming two parties constantly fighting back and forward in Westminster. Here's how it works. The Scottish Parliament has 129 seats in it. In order for any party to have a majority, they need to command 65 of those seats. Out of the 129 seats, 73 of them are elected using your constituency vote. The constituency vote is for your local area, or constituency. So let's say we're in Glasgow South, because I am. You want to vote for me, a sensible choice, I should add. You use your constituency vote for that. In fact, a majority of you vote for me, which elects me as a member of the Scottish Parliament, or MSP, using the same system as Westminster, the first past the post system. Thank you. Now, as we discussed, the first past the post system is undemocratic. That's where your other vote comes in. The remaining 56 seats out of the 129 are elected through the regional list vote. Scotland is made up of 8 regions: Central Scotland, Glasgow, Highlands and Islands, Lothian, Mid-Scotland, Fife, North East Scotland, South Scotland and West Scotland. And each of those regions are made up of between 8 to 10 constituencies. The Glasgow region is made up of 9 constituencies, and I've just been elected in the Glasgow South constituency. I've also been elected in the rest of the constituencies in Glasgow, except for Rutherglen, because they're idiots. They've elected Mark. Mark. So now on to the regional vote. This time you aren't really choosing a candidate, you're choosing a party. So the list vote comes in. These are going to elect 7 additional members in this region, and here's how. Glasgow is made up of 9 constituencies. The Stephen Payton party got 8 of them. The Mark party got 1, because of Rutherglen. Why? Now what happens is each party's list vote is divided by the number of MSPs they've already elected through the constituency vote plus 1. I got 8 MSPs, so my share of the list vote is now divided by 9. Mark's party, because he got 1 MSP, is now divided by 2. Now we start assigning seats. The top of the list is currently the Labour Party, so they get the first list MSP. They now have 1 MSP, meaning that their list vote is now divided by 2, and the order of the list is readjusted. This puts the Conservatives on top, so they get the next seat, and they in turn are divided by 2, and the list is readjusted. This continues on and on, with the list being readjusted as each new MSP is elected, until all 7 seats are filled. So as you can see, a party that's done really well in the constituency vote is much less likely to get a regional seat, so that Holyrood remains balanced. This happens in every region until the Stephen Payton party gains a majority. I become First Minister, unite the clans, end world hunger, and pass legislation making all UKIP voters have to wear a t-shirt with the words "I'm a daft" written on them. Then again, we are polling at about 1 to 4% of the population of Scotland, so that would make a UKIP voter about as rare as a unicorn, but not nearly as cool. And that's how the additional member system works. But that's not where we end. You see, when the Scottish Parliament was founded back in 1989, it was decided that the additional member system could be used to create a parliament where no one party could wholly dominate the parliament, and would mean that the diverse voices from all of Scotland would be represented, something that the Westminster system doesn't allow. A few folk have raised that one of the main reasons would really be so that the Nationalist Party could never get a majority and bring about a referendum on Scottish independence.
Yes, that's exactly why they created this system, the voting system up here. It was to prevent the SNP from getting a majority. They can challenge me on that. They can literally shout and swear at me all they fucking want. That's the reason they fucking done it. We all know this. Trust me, we do. Said you're forcing us to vote for you bastards? Get wrecked. And we broke it. Aha!
But that happened because the SNP became so popular that they basically broke the system put in place by gaining an outright majority back in 2011. And it seems that as 2016 approaches, they're about to break the system again, but in a different way. Back in 2011, the SNP managed to get a majority, beginning MSPs elected both the constituency vote and the regional vote. However, recent polling indicates that they may have become so popular that they might get a majority on the constituency seat alone. What this means for the list vote, however, is that the number of SNP MSPs elected in the list vote will drop drastically because they've done so well in the constituency vote. The average polling for January of this year, when plugged into the Scotland Votes websites, gives this result. Now this is where we are at before the campaigns of each party have even begun. What you can see is that with 45% of the regional vote, the SNP have only got 4 additional seats, while other parties with much less have gained more seats, such as the Conservatives getting 17% of the regional vote, resulting in 15 additional MSPs. If just 4% of those planning to vote SNP instead voted for the Greens on the regional vote, Labour and the Conservatives would actually lose seats to the Greens without the SNP losing a single seat. In fact, technically, if every single person planning to vote SNP on the regional list voted Green instead, the Greens would become the main opposition in Holyrood, and the SNP would still be the majority party, with Nicola Sturgeon as our First Minister. That is how popular the SNP have become. Of course, that's never going to happen. However, it does raise a few questions. So, in the end, I'm not going to tell you how to vote. That's up to you. If you want to see a Holyrood with an overwhelming majority of pro-left, pro-indie MSPs, then you could vote SNP and Green. If you want to see the maximum number of SNP MSPs, no matter who else, vote SNP, that's your decision.
I might show that next, after the Sunday show.
And that's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm only asking that you vote for whoever is talking about the kind of Scotland that you want to live in, and that you actually understand how our system works. That too. In the end, it's down to the parties out there to show you their vision of what Scotland can be, including the brand new A Better Britain Unionist Party, founded by a group of Better Together campaigners who want to stop all further devolution to Scotland, bring back the royal coat of arms on everything, ensure Union Jack is flying from every government building, and who genuinely believe that one day they might actually have an MSP. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, share and subscribe. There will be more coming from Left Scotland as we approach the Holyrood elections, so keep an eye on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.
A constituency this week. You've chosen a couple, in fact, to look at.
Yes, I've cheated slightly. I've picked three, and I've picked three that have unchanged constituency boundaries. All three are Conservative SNP contests, and all three are currently held by the Conservatives. So from east to west, that's Ettrick, Roxburgh and Berwickshire, then Dumfriesshire, then Galloway and West Dumfries. Even though they're all held by the Conservatives, they differ in the margin of victory. So it was won by 5 points in Galloway and West Dumfries, by 10 in Dumfriesshire, and the safest seat is that Ettrick seat at a 19-point margin between the Conservatives and the SNP. Now, if you look at the Survation polling, and you know that the SNP are down 15 and Conservatives are down 8, then that suggests that all three could still safely return to Conservative hands in this election. But I would note, there are two things I would note there. One is that if we don't look at national polls, but we actually look at what's going on in the region, in south of Scotland, then actually in those polls, SNP support is falling slightly less, Conservative support is falling slightly more, and so it makes all of those contests more narrow than if we're looking at national trends. The other thing worth noting is that that Survation poll, putting the Conservatives at 13% support, is the highest figure found by any pollster in over a year. And if you actually use more conservative numbers, small c conservative numbers like the ones from YouGov, then what YouGov are actually predicting is that the Ettrick seat is the only one of the three that will be saved, and in fact could be the only constituency held by the Conservatives in 2026. The good news is, no matter which one comes out first on counting day, it will give you a guide about what's likely to happen in the other two.
Well, thank you very much for guiding us through that once again, Professor Ailsa Henderson. We'll speak to you again next week. Now, throughout the campaign, we've been asking you to tell us what matters to you through BBC Your Voice. Today, we're talking about immigration and integration, and Tommy Murray from Inverclyde would like to know, why are we seeing huge numbers of legal migrants and asylum seekers coming to Scotland? Why are we not trying to sort out our own problems of poor health, drug addiction, people more willing to claim benefits rather than seek employment? Why is our system so broken, he asks. And Bob Gillespie from Glasgow got in touch to say that we desperately need incomers to fill the jobs we need in social care and other workplaces. We have a declining population and young people clearly unwilling to join a social care workforce, where they'll both be poorly paid and carrying out very stressful jobs. Bob also said it was crazy that asylum seekers are prevented from working when we desperately need their help. And Helen Dow from Aberdeen sent us this clip with her question about the potential impact of pupils with English as an additional language on the rest of the class.
In many of Aberdeen's city schools, there's a high percentage of pupils where English is their additional language. How do the candidates propose to support those children where English is their first language from being held back or regressing due to the added stretch on the current resources?
Well, next week our focus will be on Scottish education, once the envy of the world, but maybe not so much since devolution. So please do get in touch with your thoughts and stories by going to the webpage via the QR code that you can see on your screen if you're watching on telly, or you can email us directly. The address is sundayshow@bbc.co.uk. Well, let's see if our second panel can shed any light on Helen, Bob and Tommy's questions and comments there. Joining me now are Stephen Kerr from the Conservatives, Christine Jordan from the Scottish Liberal Democrats and Patrick Harvey from the Scottish Greens. Morning to you all. Thanks very much indeed for being here. Let's just address that question from Tommy. Patrick Harvey, he asks, we're seeing huge numbers of legal migrants and asylum seekers coming to Scotland. Why are we not trying to sort out our own problems of poor health, drug addiction, people more willing to claim benefits rather than seek employment? He asks why the system is broken. What would your answer to that?
Well, can I first welcome the language in that question? It is really important to recognise that seeking asylum is legal, and we see too many people in the political spectrum conflating asylum with illegal immigration. They're not the same thing. Look, across the whole of society, we know that public services, housing, a great deal of our economy has been under incredible pressure. We've had 15 years of austerity from the Tory government. We're not seeing that reversed properly from the UK Labour government. That's what's undermined our public services. That's what's undermined investment in our infrastructure, in our towns and cities, in our built environment, including housing. These problems are not the fault of immigrants or asylum seekers. They're the fault of decisions made by UK governments impacting on Scotland and pushing those cuts down the chain through the Scottish Government and onto our councils as well. And it's a change in economic policy that will see investment in those things.
Do you share that analysis, Christine Jordan? Because we've seen this as a rising issue in terms of people's concerns. Number 3 in that poll of concerns before the election.
I agree to a certain extent with what Patrick says. It's important that we look at the difference between immigration, asylum, and people coming here illegally. Completely different. And yes, people are dissatisfied because of the economic crisis we're in at the moment, the cost of living crisis. We have housing problems in this country. But I don't think we can blame it all on Westminster. The SNP have had almost 20 years now in government, and we're seeing things getting worse. Housing, for example, which has been brought up a lot by the people you've spoken to in the programme. Housing has been taken out of control, financial control of local councils very much. It's part of this centralisation that we've seen in Scotland, which has damaged everything. And people are frustrated and they're taking that out. But we do need immigration in this country because we have a massive skills gap. We have an employment gap. And things like the care sector basically are in threat of collapsing, care homes, because they cannot get staff.
And we will get to some of that in a moment. But Stephen, what's your analysis here of why this is a rising concern?
Well, it's a rising concern because people look around the communities they're in and have a concern about what they are seeing, what they're experiencing, and they're also watching television news coverage of those boats arriving on the south coast of England, and they are concerned that the government at Westminster doesn't have a grip on immigration. I think they're well-founded in that concern. 68,000 immigrants have arrived in this country by that illegal means, and I wish to pick up on Patrick's point. I think there's a very nuanced difference, frankly, between talking about illegal immigration and asylum seekers, because when people arrive here by that illegal means, they seek asylum. Now, the reality is that they may have a right to do that, but if you arrive in this country by illegal means, then you cannot be permitted to stay. We need to create a disincentive in order to prevent
it's a regular migration. You literally have to be here in the country to claim asylum. You know that, Stephen. You've predicted.
We are a welcoming, warm-hearted people, but people feel that hospitality is being taken advantage of, and they don't feel.
But the vast majority of immigration is legal, isn't it? And is this not what muddies the waters in this debate and perhaps inflames the debate?
It does.
Does your party need to take some responsibility here? Because there was a huge spike in immigration when Boris Johnson was in charge. From the start of his premiership to the end, he oversaw a 267% increase in annual immigration. We got up to almost a million net migrants in 2022-23.
Guy, the Conservative government, didn't do everything it could have, and we have paid a political price. And now, under the new leadership of Kemi Badenoch, our party is setting out a direction that we believe is in line with the best interest of our country.
Being forced upon you by Nigel Farage?
No, I think we have to recognise what people are telling us.
They do, Omaha,
the reaction of the public to this issue is very real. It can't be negated or ignored. It can't be described as racist. Too often, I'm afraid the parties on the left wish to designate the views of ordinary working people as being racist. They're not being racist. They're seeing what's happening in the community, and they're deeply concerned about it. And the reality, it's nothing to do with far right, Patrick. It's got to do with what people feel on their doorsteps. They're telling us on their doorsteps they have a concern about this. They don't think the government's got a grip on it. And frankly,
and does that language help, Patrick Harvey, in terms of branding people racist, if that's how you view them?
It's really important to recognise that most people have a live and let live approach. Most people recognise the value of immigration to our country and don't want the racist rhetoric that we are hearing from certain parts of the media and certain parts of the political spectrum. We've heard racist rants from Reform candidates, including their leaders. We've heard Conservatives, for example, coming out with this idea that people can't be British or English or Scottish and be from a minority ethnic community, stigmatising Muslims for praying in public. This kind of rhetoric is feeding into an impact that is really harming people. I've spoken, Gary, if I can just finish, I've spoken to people working in social care and in the health service who experience racism at work on a daily basis. occasionally from a small minority of the people they're trying to care for, that desperately undermines their safety
and we
and
heard that
well-being
from people in
and our public
Inverness,
services.
migrants in Inverness who feel the same way.
I'm not dismissing the issues of racism that exist in society.
Who have you
But I'm afraid that what Patrick Harvey would like is open borders. He completely disregards the whole issue of border security.
Why hasn't your party disciplined members
you
for
do not
those
take
comments?
borders seriously, you're not taking the country seriously. You have to listen to the people are not concerned.
This is the most depressing conversation I've been involved in politics for a long time. We're talking about serious problems about how Scotland is going to be governed, and we're having an argument about racism, which frankly will inflame the very problem that you're talking about. As soon as you start talking about racism, you make the situation worse. We've got problems in this country at the moment with Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. We need to get a grip of that and speak responsibly about the problem. And the problem is that the government, your government, Stephen, lost control of immigration. If I could speak now, please, just for a wee minute. Sure. They lost control of immigration. And we've got huge backlogs. We've got 800,000 people on waiting lists up and down the country. We need to fix that.
That fucking number again. Right. I'll use myself as an example. Yet again, because I'm fed up with this. Fucking hell. Right. The waiting list issue. I was on 5. I repeat, 5 separate lists. I was treated as 5 different people. So it's they aggregated this one patient right here and duplicated me. So the average the average is basically someone's on at least 2, sometimes 3. I'm an outlier. There's no many of us who are on 5, but I'm because a multidisciplinary healthcare for me, because autoimmune and genetic disorder as well, genetic issue. So I was on 5 separate lists at one point, and I didn't wait long on 3 of them. I wasn't waiting on those lists that long. The longest one I was on for was for endocrinology for my Turners. And I was on that waiting list for about a year. So there's the specialist I'm seeing is actually world class, Dr. Friel. Praise be Dr. Friel. She is awesome. She knows my mum, which is weird. My mum asked me, says, so is that you're getting sent to endocrinology? Who is it you're going to be seeing? Dr. Friel. Ah, I know Dr. Friel. What? Excuse me? My mum was a midwife, by the way. And family planning nurse. Family planning sister. And when I went to see Dr. Friel, I said that to her. My mum knows you. What? What's your mum's name? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah. I've worked with your mum in the past. Perth, right? Yeah, Perth. So she's weird. How the fuck does this keep happening? Hang on, do you know Maggie? Yeah, I know the Maggie Pebbles, yeah. I know Maggie. Oh, didn't he tell me she was your paediatrician? Was she? Yeah, she was. So my paediatrician was brilliant. God, I miss Maggie. She was really quite good. She's retired now. Dr. Maggie. She deserves it. She was at the coalface for fucking years as a paediatrician. She's an independent supporter, by the way.
It's a different problem from people coming across the channel in small boats, and that is the result of Brexit. Brexit caused that.
These are historic
it has got to do with Brexit.
Let's not go back to Brexit. I want to focus very much on what we heard from the people in the Highlands there, because they are very concerned about the fact that they can't get people to fill job vacancies, for instance, right there. So what is your message to those people who believe that we need migration into the Highlands particularly to fill those jobs?
We welcome people migrating to our country when they bring their skills, when they bring their appetite for work, when they bring their ambition. You had a package earlier on where you had a couple of business owners who have come to this country as migrants and who have set up businesses, who have created work and created jobs. The whole emphasis of the Scottish Conservatives manifesto is getting Scotland working. So we want workers. But I think...
But is it more difficult for those people to come now than it used to be in the past? Should it be more difficult?
Well, we took measure...
Notice how they're not mentioning the economically inactive anymore, because they saw how toxic it was and what the reaction was in the great swaths of the UK, not just in Scotland. Basically coming after people like me. You ain't forcing me back into work. Literally, take away my money, I don't fucking care, you're not forcing me. I cannot go back into work. A danger to myself and to those around me with my health issues. Just no, fuck off. Not doing it. Simple as. The sooner you lot get that through your thick skulls, the better. Especially now that I've got the clotting issues. And what employer would take me on? Did we have to do all these extra accommodations for her? That'll eat into our bottom line. Oh. Is this employment? I have fun doing it. And I earned some money through Twitch. I'm unmonetized on YouTube, by the way, because that takes fucking forever. Maybe before I'm 50. Maybe by the time I'm 50 I'll get monetized on YouTube. We will see. Keep your eyes peeled, people.
Measures as a result of the issues that you highlighted earlier in your question to me. We took measures at the end of the lifetime of the Conservative government to bring down the net difference between people arriving in this country and people leaving this country, and those have been successful. But so yes, look, people do not want unlimited migration. They want controlled migration. I think the only person on this panel, with all due respect to Christine, that wants uncontrolled migration is Patrick Harvey.
Do you want
oh, fuck off! No, we don't.
Loves making
Christ.
things up about other people. What we need to recognise is that successive governments have not only made it harder for people to come here legitimately, whether through immigration or the asylum system when they have a valid claim, they've also made it difficult, and still are, for people to work. Even whether
But they argue that they're responding to the public concerns that we talked about.
Well, there's a huge public concern, for example, about dentistry. We need more dentists in Scotland. We have qualified and experienced dentists.
Let's train them.
Do you want to know who trained as a dentist? Anna Sarwar. Maybe we should help him, give him that push to go back into his profession. Electoral violence, if you please, at the polls. A little bit more tricky to get rid of him because he's list. He always used to try and run against Nicola when she was in Glasgow Southside. Always failed. Flat on his arse. It's like Nicola was left or something. Every time that happened, every time he ran against her, I just sat back and started laughing. Said, oh, I take it he lost again. Yes, he did. Because he is wank. If you can't tell, I've got issues with Anna Sarwar. He is called Anus for a reason after all. Read my lips. No more, no new austerity. Yeah, we didn't fucking believe you, Anas. Get right.
Who now have
oh,
a right
Patrick's
to
one
work,
of my list MSPs, by the
they've
way.
come through the asylum
Please
system
be
and got
Patrick Harvey.
settled status, or they've got leave to remain, but they're not allowed to work because they don't have the access to transfer those qualifications. And that's something that the Scottish Government could help with, in giving them the access
to transfer their qualifications so that they can actually put their skills to good use here in Scotland.
Patrick Harvey was
Love
part
it.
of an SNP Green government
Yes.
that has systematically cut college funding, has deliberately capped apprenticeships. If we want more skill...
Block grant went down because of your fucking party. Austerity is still biting us. So get wrecked, Stephen. Just, no, fuck off. That's 2 cares that have been on the fucking show the day. And both of them are dickheads. Obviously because they're right-wingers. Again, I mean no disrespect. Fuck it, disrespect him. He's a Tory at the end of the day. Yeah. Austerity, motherfucker. Our block grant has went down because of yous. They failed to mention that. I will correct them on that issue. Trust me, I will educate all of you in exactly what they've done to us up here. And there's still people who vote for the Tories, fucking hell. Mostly boomers, I'll hasten to add. So everyone my age and younger, essentially. Everyone 50 and under 50. A vast majority of under 40s. Despise them, rightfully so, because Tories, obviously. Mention austerity with you bastard. But they don't, because they know how toxic it would be. They're an irrelevance, really. Their party is dying. Ha 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 ha. Get wrecked, Stephen Kerr.
And professional people in our country. We should start by making our education and training system fit for purpose, for an economy of the 21st
I want to ask
century.
you about education. I want to ask you about that because we heard there from Helen. She sent in her question from Aberdeen. She said, will children with English as a second language impact on the learning of those with English as a first language? But how do you answer that? Because people do, again, have concerns about areas of public policy like education and perhaps their children being disadvantaged because of others arriving.
I think it's important that we invest in the education system for all the children. Mary McCallan earlier was talking about that bilingual children in Scotland. We should be proud of the fact that we've got bilingual children in Scotland and that the families are making a contribution. And to pick up on something Stephen said and something Patrick has said, if we allowed asylum seekers to work when they came to this country, they would be making a contribution in national insurance, they'd be making a contribution in tax.
Don't make me agree with Christine Jardine, she's fucking horrible. She's got a point. And yes, I do agree that they should be working. But no, not allowed. It makes no fucking sense to me. Mind you, she is a Lib Dem. Yeah.
And then that would, I think, sort of undermine this resentment that politicians are, I think, using and exploiting.
Does it make it more difficult to get them to leave if they fail the process?
Because if they're allowed to work, you can still say, I'm sorry, you can't have asylum. And then, they would have to leave, they would have to be deported. But you allow them to work when they come to this country. They make a contribution, they fill these skills gaps that we've got, and then they're actually making a contribution. And I spoke to one of...
coming into this country. People want to know who's coming into this country.
Of course they do.
Often these people arrive on our shores.
If I could finish, Stephen, please. If I could just
should they be able to contribute?
I was going to make the point that we have the care homes in Edinburgh, the care home management and owners have been to see me. We have a huge amount of immigrants working in the care sector who came here as students, they've got degrees and are now in danger. But because of the resentment that's been built up against immigrants, they're in danger of having to leave and the care sector
Let me bring in Patrick Harvey, because I've not heard from him for a moment. Just on that issue of the education one, because it is important, and concerns have been raised about whether those who don't speak English as a first language are taking resources from other people.
In my experience in Glasgow, especially in some of the most diverse schools in Glasgow, young people who've come through immigration and asylum routes are the most keen to learn. Young people who've got multiple languages under their belt are an asset, and the diversity of schools can be an asset as well if we invest properly in schools, in teachers, in education. And the thing I find most annoying about this whole debate is it's the parties on the right who want to take billions of pounds out of public services to pay for tax cuts for high earners.
No.
They're the ones who are seeking to demonise and stigmatise young people for speaking multiple languages.
We want to help people offer benefits back into work. That's the billions that we want to save for the public purse. We want to get Scotland working. That's the essence of the Scottish Conservative message.
Those tax cuts will come out of public
economic
services.
growth. And for our economy to grow, we need a cohesive society. And critical to a cohesive society is the English language. So when we talk about the importance of education, we should make sure that while we have a multi-faith and multiracial society, and we have a single common culture which is rooted in our language. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having that as a policy emphasis, because without the social cohesion and the economic growth.
And what about housing? We talked about that as well, and that again is a concern of many people, the idea that they may be on a long waiting list, or council houses or social housing is no longer available to them. Is that a concern? Is it a legitimate concern, Christian?
Well, it's a huge concern.
When it comes to immigration?
It's not necessarily the same as immigration. It's housing is a massive issue on its own, and I think there is a danger of deflecting from how we fix the housing problem by blaming it on immigration, because we have to take a fresh approach. We have to scrap the current strategy, which is not working, and have a holistic approach that tackles housing, the cost of living. If you insulate homes, you make it cheaper. People are then more able to afford the housing and the rents and the mortgages, which in Edinburgh at the moment.
You know what, I think I'll read out after this. I was going to watch that one that Omaha suggested. We'll get to it tomorrow.
Who are in danger of being made homeless, or who can't afford a
Let's
home
go
in
and say hi
Edinburgh.
to Shanna, shall we?
If you tackle the cost of living crisis, then you make homes more affordable. But you have to build homes. You have to be investing in building homes. You want to see a policy. Our policy would be to build an average of 25,000 homes a year. That would create 87,000 jobs. Now that helps kickstart the economy.
Just
That's
very,
how
very
you
brief
approach
comments.
it.
Yeah, very briefly. We want to build 80,000 affordable houses in the lifetime of this Parliament, because the way to solve the issues in relation to homelessness, and we do have a housing emergency, is to build more houses. Right. But the local connection rule that was mentioned earlier, that was scrapped by the SNP, does need to be brought back. It's absolutely reckless to do away with such a simple idea that people that live in a locality should have a preference for housing.
Can I ask you just all finally, because we talked there with Ailsa Henderson about this notion of apathy, perhaps people being a bit scunnered with politics generally. What is your sense of that at this election? Are you worried, Patrick Harvey, about turnout? Just very briefly from each of you.
I think we should always be keen to see turnout as high as it can be, and we need to offer a compelling argument to the electorate if we want people to listen, to pay attention and to vote for us. None of us have an entitlement to anybody's vote. But what I feel is not apathy as such. What I feel is something more troubling than that. People look at the rise of the far right around the world and in this country, and they're genuinely worried. People look at the impact of the cost of living crisis, the economic inequality, the hoarding of wealth by a tiny proportion of Scotland's population, and they know that Scotland can do better, and Greens want to demand better.
Just very briefly, if you would.
I'm deeply concerned about what the turnout's going to be this election, because I think there is a great deal of disinterest and apathy. And the reality, it's got nothing to do with the far right. It's got to do with the fact that people feel they're in the doom loop. And we need to get out of the doom loop. And the only way to get out of the doom loop in Scotland is to change the government. And that's why voting Conservative on the peach ballot paper is so important.
Just 30
oh,
seconds.
fuck off.
I think it's very
You're going to get a
important
kick in.
Vote. That's the bedrock of democracy. If we don't vote, we are in danger of losing our democracy. And frankly, I'm more concerned that people vote than who they vote for. I just want them to get out there and vote.
Well, no lack of passion here, for sure. No apathy to be seen. Thank you very much indeed, all three of you, for being with us.
I don't think we need to listen to Andrew Kerr.
Is here. Andrew, we heard earlier about voter apathy and perhaps turnout as well. What is your sense of how this campaign is going?
Well, Gary, that...
Let's go and say hi to Shanna, shall we? Oh. Oh, Andy, I'm just reading out. Sorry, my friend. How are you doing? I'm a lot better, by the way. Let's... Slept in. Don't worry about it. I'll be back tomorrow, don't worry. Capricorn. Oops. Don't worry about it, Andy, seriously. Specs will understand. We'll be in the turn left voice chat after Normal Island tomorrow, or today essentially. So 8:30-ish, roughly. What? CJ? What the fuck? Capricorn, where are you? Give me my darling. Capricorn. Start trade. Cool. I'll be there as well to facilitate. Oh my god, it's my 9th month of supporting the stream.
Yeah, the Katy Railroad was struggling after this depression, basically, for freight and passenger revenue.
Okay.
A passenger agent by the name of William George Crush, who worked for the Katy Railroad, was given a task to find a way to attract new passengers to the rail line. George Crush had heard of these train crashes that were staged in Ohio before, and he wanted to do the same thing for the Katy Railroad. He proposed that seeing the train crash be free, but the only way to get there was to purchase a round-trip ticket to Crush, Texas,